Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Now, look, we're halfway through the session on Thursday, the 17th of July. So I thought I'd just take a quick look at where we are and a couple of events coming up in the markets. Then I want to just run through this short-term focus list as well. This is being recorded, so I will post it to the Trading Hub and the video libraries. Now, I just want to start with the daily chart of the S&P 500 and coming up off that low back in April. And, you know, that was an ABC to my eyes, 2, ABC 3. The 3 hit the 123.6 fib extension of this 1-2. That's absolutely textbook for a 3 in a diagonal structure. Shallow fought back, and we've been seeing those again and again. Diagonal structures, shallow 4s. Then another A, B, that puts us in the final C wave of a 5th wave up off that low. And I do think it's still got just a little further to go. However, warnings. We now have a consensus of 2 on our indicators to the downside. Look at this divergence on the squeeze indicator. This is the momentum reading. So you've had the squeeze fire long here. There was the price compression. There was the squeeze. And now that momentum is coming off and it's diverged from this high here. And we've had now the CRSI sell, the trender sell. We haven't had the Brexit sell quite yet. But if you look at the fibs on the daily chart just above where we are, 63.26, where we're at 62.91. Then I've got this fib here at 63.70. And if it wants to push it, 64.51. But I would expect to see the S&P 500, this is the cash market, turn at one of those levels. What I'm looking for then is one of 2 things. Ideally, we're going to get this B wave retrace back down here to the 618 retrace fib. It's also where you've got this gap up on the way up before we then get the blow off top that we're looking for into the 7,000s and all the rest of it. There is another possibility, which is if I give this the benefit of the doubt of a 5-wave move in there rather than a 3-wave move and then a 2, then the 1618 to 1764 fibs are the expected level for a wave 3 in an impulse. So if we don't, start to let go and get a decent initial move down, and bear in mind as you conclude diagonals, we should see the first part of the reversal should be pretty brutal and swift. If that's not what we see and we start to meander down, watch these fibs here, 6012 and 5826. It could be that we get a 4, 5 to north of 6660 in the SPX and for an extended A wave before we see that B wave back. Now, if I add the cycles in, the cycles are saying, look, we're at the top here. Bear in mind, we don't use cycles for trade triggers. They are the setup. We need to then see our trade triggers in order to actually place a position. And I'll come to that in a moment. It's expecting this. But look at this, and then down. And I'm wondering, whether this B wave is either going to drag out in time. And bear in mind, my expectation was that this low would likely be where we seasonally expect lows in October. And that starts to make some sense here, whereby this is what we see. And you get the A wave down here, then a B wave back, then the C wave down after that. And that wouldn't surprise me, nor would a 4, 5, and then we get the bigger move down. So we're going to have to be on our toes here in terms of trading the moves. But for now, I think a little higher. Tomorrow, we have options expiry, and it's a July one, so it's the weekly and monthly. It's not a quarterly. Next week, we have FOMC. I would expect one of those 2 events to likely be the catalyst for the local top in this market before we start to see this move down materialize. And the first thing to look for in the SPX will be a break of 6,200 and follow through. See that, and we've got at least the local top of a 3 in. I suspect more likely all of the A wave in place. If I just then flip over to the ES, and I'm going to take it down to its hourly chart. We've pushed up here to the 887 retrace of this leg. Are we going to get a sea of 4 down and then up? Well, we could see that. I would expect it to be swift, lightly today, and then we run up into that options expiry if we're going to see it. But having taken out the 786 retrace of this move here, I think it's highly unlikely. I think the 4 is more likely in at the low we saw yesterday. And indeed, if you go to my S&P 500 chart, you can see that's what I'm doing. And you can see the hourly cycles here are suggesting up. You can see that the CRSI gave us that buy signal coming off the low yesterday, and that we've got an hourly squeeze building. Everything, we've got a consensus of 12 to the upside on a hourly time frame. Brexit, trender, CRSI, I think we're going to get another squeeze and push up. And I think we're likely to see somewhere around 63.70 to 63.80 in the S&P 500 cash market, likely tomorrow. And then we'll see what we get in the early part of next week and FOMC. So that's the main market. In terms of other potential trades today, CL has pushed up nicely here, but it's not following through any further. It's given you a couple of decent day trades coming off these levels if you took them, but I suspect it's going to remain a little choppy into the end of the week. You certainly don't want to be holding anything over the weekend, but I'm now looking for the rest of this C wave up in CL. So I'm looking for a serious move up over coming weeks to our targets, which are much, much higher. Quickly want to look at the US dollar here. Now, another up day here, and we're starting to approach. We need to take this here out, this 99.40, but look at this coming off the lows. We got the diverged momentum. We've got this daily squeeze building with momentum now going positive. There was your CRSI buy signal coming right off the top bottom with the trender buy signal. There's your signals overall. You can go and read them on here, or you can go over to the lists here and you can see the status of each of those signals and when they fired, etc. Now, what we now need to do is take out that 99.40. Then it's all about this level here, which is at 102. Below there, this can still give us another leg down in the US dollar to complete this B wave before we are done. But, look at the daily cycles. They're suggesting a prolonged move to the upside. At the very least, I would expect to see a deep retrace against this drop. My contention is that we're going to take out the high from earlier in this year at 110.20, and the dollar over the next couple of years, in fact, has another major run to the upside before we see a multi-year decline in the US dollar overall. So that's what I've got on those key things. What I'd now like to do is just take you through that short-term focus list. And if you've been in any of these from when we first started to post them, so RKLB is now at the target here, and we posted this coming off the wave 4. You can see the signals. There's your CRSI buy, trender buy, Brexit buy. You can see the consensus going long. Then you can see the squeeze, fire, squeeze, fire, squeeze, fire. And we've pushed straight up. We're at the 1618 fib. You want to keep a very, very tight rein on this now. If you want to give it some, I don't want to see this come back into the wave 4 position. Bearing in mind we're up at 53.20 here. I'm looking for 61.97. There's a possibility you could get a little blow off here up to 80.46, but watch this closely over the next few days and sell at least some into strength here. If you bought this coming off the lows somewhere around the $19.92 to $20 level, you're up 150% in this stock since April. That's not something you want to be giving much back on. You'll get another chance. We're going to get a pullback. Then there should be a fifth wave up to the 122, 123 area in RKLB. So these stocks, some of them have been plays since we posted them, and then some of them are setups. This is both. It's been a great play. Now it's got a setup for higher. NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, our target for this was the 159.60 to 167 area. We're above it. I think we push up now to the 2.0 extension, 180.77. But after that, I'm looking for a pullback. Now, it can come as shallow as 148 area or as deep as 131, but I think we need a 4 next in NVIDIA. You can see the buy signals coming off the lows again. There was your diverged momentum. There was your squeeze building. There was your CRSI buy. There was the Mansfield buy, Trender buy, Brexit buy. You can see the consortium of signals. All of these are automated for you on the charts. All these analyses are automatically shared with you so you can follow along. We're looking, as I say, 180.77, but again, you should be selling into strength in here. Then look for the fallback. If it holds and we get the signals again, the next run up should take us to a minimum of 204, and I suspect more likely to the 223 to 230 region in NVIDIA, after which I'm expecting something considerably deeper to the downside. ZETA. Now this one, there's a couple of things here. We had the signals coming off this wave 4 low. We've now got a squeeze again, but it's either a 4 or a 2. Unfortunately, with diagonals, you can interpret them a number of ways, but this has been picture perfect. We got this A, B, C down right into a 1.0 extension where this leg and this leg were equal and to just shy of a 618 retrace. And it then gave the signals coming off the lows here, squeezes, so on. But that's either an ABC for a 1 in a much larger diagonal, in which case this run's going to come considerably higher, or as I've got it, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Either way, we should see into the 20s from here in this stock. If you bought it coming off the lows between 13.75 and 14.25, then get yourself safe on this now and pay attention to these. Given that we're expecting a market pullback, don't take the counts as absolute gospel. If the signals tell you to get out, bank your money, and we can live to look another day. But having got profits in this, don't give them back easily. SOFI, now this has been on an absolute tear. So we've got the 1, 2, I think we're in a wave 3, but it's got to prove it. It's got to take out 23.11 and head up to 26.71 and then give a series of 4 5s. My concern here with this one is several-fold. Firstly, there's a possibility that this is an A, B, C. We're coming up into an area of resistance, both from block trades on the way down and a 1.0 extension off the bottom. So 23.11, 23.10. We've had this beautiful squeeze that's run. You can see there's your buy signal. There's your breakout buy signal. This is on the CRSI. Here's your Mansfield, and it's stayed positive. Trender and the Brexit coming off the lows. Absolutely textbook, picture perfect. You've had numerous opportunities to get into this. Consensus of 11 still to the upside. So there's no need to get out, but you should be lightening up here into strength. If this comes up and hits its 123.6 fib for the 3 of 3 and then holds the 1.0, you can always go long again for a move up to 33.77 to 42.70. But I would again on the side of being sensible. If it's an ABC for a 1 in a large diagonal, we're going to pull back deep and quite swiftly against this move up that we've seen, and do keep in mind what we're expecting in the main markets. SMH, right at its 2.0 extension here, might just push through it, but watch this 293.58 area. Again, I'm expecting a 4 back. I think we're going to pull back to somewhere around the 246, 247 area, possibly as low as 235, but then we've got another run up here into 350 area. So again, don't be greedy, let it play out and then wait for the 4 back. If you look at the technicals, again, we've got divergence here. You can see the buy signals coming off the lows. You can see the consensus. It's all visual for you. So, you can see the block trades here at those lows, and up we came. But we now have diverged momentum between this high here and this high here. You'd expect that if that was the 3 of 3 and this is the 5 of 3, that's textbook. And look at the CRSI, it's just coming back to the dynamic line. If that crosses, you've already got the trender that's diverged, that's suggesting, and it tends to fire early, that caution is warranted. If you've got anything in the semiconductors or in SMH itself or leverage on it, now's the time to be selling into strength. IONQ, I mean, this has been going sideways for some time. I'm looking for a pop to 94.22. Keep a very, very tight leash on this one. Stops 36.25, or, just bank it. There's no harm in missing out on that final run up. If you took it, you know, you've got the squeeze here. There were the original signals there. If you've taken it anywhere in here, you've got a decent profit in it. Do not give it back by being greedy. And there'll be plenty more opportunities after a pullback in the market. AMD. Now, this is the one, I've got it as corrective and therefore a C wave down. I'm just going to flip you out to the weekly chart. You know, this whole pattern here is awkward. The question is, was the 4 in here? That's an expanded running flat as a WXY. Perfectly possible. You can see the buy signals on the weekly chart coming out of that low, and they were textbook. We've still got a weekly consensus of 10 to the upside, but I think this is long in the tooth. But having got this little pullback and another leg up, that opens the door to the idea that that's the 4, ABC1, 2, ABC3, 4, ABC5. So I'm going to be watching this for a pullback that holds against this low that we saw in April. If we get that into the timing window and this sets up again to the upside, I'm very, very interested in AMD. The 3 semis that I'm in, semiconductors, I'm interested in for the next run up. Some in NVIDIA, TSM, and they had earnings this morning. They beat on every metric, but they've come up and hit the target that we had yesterday when we looked at that chart. So Taiwan Semiconductor and AMD, if it holds a pullback here, I think has got a potentially huge run up in the next leg with a target. I mean, the minimum would be 495. It can run as high as 847. And again, I think that's only the top of a wave 3 off the lows that we saw back in 2015 in AMD. I think it's going to play catch up in this space big time. Okay, CSIQ. Now, I'm looking for a major move up in this stock into the mid 80s here, and all of that for an A wave. Having said that, what we've got at the moment, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. But it's got to prove it here. And again, a little bit like we looked at in SOFI, watch this 1.0 extension at 1532. The squeeze, you know, the momentum starting to come off. CRSI on the daily threatening a sell signal here. So if you took this, again, you can see where the entry was. There's your block trades. There's your momentum going positive. There's the CRSI buy, Mansfield buy, the Trender buy came in slightly early. There's the Brexit buy, and you can see the consensus on the signal line. Then again, don't be greedy. The entry was all the way down at 8.17. You're up 50%. No harm in banking it into strength and then look for other opportunities later. I was rather hoping this would have made more progress during this bull run up in the major indices. It hasn't. The pattern's a little bit more erratic than I would have liked to the upside. No need to risk good profits in this if you've got them. CLF. Now, CLF is looking fabulous here. We've cleared the initial resistance. I'm looking for the rest of this wave 1 up, as you know, but watch this area now between the high we saw the other day, 997, but I want to see it come up to 1031, then hold the 950 area. But the key to this is then clearing that 138.2 fib at 1084. If we can do that, then we've got a 3, we look for the 4, 5. And, you know, again, if you look at the most recent entry signals, they were coming off this wave 2 here, all the way back down at 669. You're up 50% from there. If you look at the entry signals coming off the wave 4, they were down at 549. So this stock is on an absolute tear off the lows. It's up almost 100%. And I think it's got a long, long way to go. But over time, this should just be the wave 1. Then we're going to get a 2 back. After which, I think, you know, we've got targets up in the $30 region for an A wave in a very large diagonal structure that we're tracking overall. But for now, let's just keep a tight rein on it and look for the rest of the wave 1 up. MWA, you know, this needs to clear 25.54 next, and then the target would be a minimum of 28.63, ideally 30.41. If you're in this, stops now 24.18. You can see the last buy signals here when I posted it the other week. Everything on a buy, consensus of 7 to the upside. We now need to see the breakout and follow through in MWA. TSM, this is Taiwan Semiconductor, and as I said, they went through this yesterday, knowing that we were going to get the earnings released before the bell today. We got that. It's gapped up right to that 2.0 extension. It can extend here a little further, and if it does so, it can go as high as 263 even, but I'm looking for a 4 back next, and if we get that, if you're in this, you should be selling into strength. Again, look at the indicators. There's your diverged momentum. There's the early warning on the trender and the buy signal. There's the cycles bottoming. There's the consensus of indicators, momentum coming up, then the momentum going positive. Buy signal here on the CRSI, breakout buy signal to add here on the CRSI. And I'm now looking for a pullback. If you're in this, I would suggest again you start unloading into strength in this one, and you can buy it back a little lower. 209 to 201.50 is the target for the move down. Tesla. So Tesla's been kind to us of late, starting with the move here. Then we got a picture perfect wave 2 back to the 50% retrace fib, and then the 1, 2, and up we're going. Now we've got this daily squeeze building, but we need to see this get on with it now. So again, keep a very, very tight rein on this stock. It can be quite volatile. We do need it to clear 361.80 next in Tesla. TEM. So TM, as I said yesterday with TM, I think the A wave of this move down may be in place. And there was an opportunity yesterday to go long coming off the low. If you took it, then you want your stop now at 58.10 in this stock. One of two things. Either we're going to retrace and then get the rest of this B wave down to 47.22. But the reason for the interest was this. Look, we got a CRSI buy. Momentum diverged, it's coming up, and we've got a daily squeeze. We haven't quite got a Mansfield buy signal, but we're close. Trend is on a buy. We're at the bottom of the cycle. Consensus of indicators starting to fire long, and therefore we could have had a shallow B wave into this 38.2 fib, and therefore it was worth a little play in this one, because the target's all the way up at 142 for this next run up in TEM. Okay, HIMS. HIMS, again, not really going very far at the moment. We're on buy signals coming off this wave 4 low. I'm looking for that fifth wave up now to the minimum 80.92, lightly higher. But again, it needs to prove it here. And the concern would be ABC for a 1 in a larger diagonal for this A wave, and this was a 2 or part thereof. So keep a very, very tight run on it. I think over time, this stock could prove to be absolutely phenomenal. But if you look at the structure on the weekly chart overall, ABC 1, 2, ABC 3, 4. I'm looking for an ABC 5 up to, at least 115.54. But guess what? That's all going to be for a wave 1. You're going to see a larger wave 2 back in this stock for the major run up afterwards, if it's going to fulfill its potential. PLBY, this is one that John liked. I'm not mad about it. I don't have a position in it. It's got to break 243 if it's going to run. But since we flagged it, coming off this low down here, you can see the squeeze, you can see the CRSI, Mansfield, the trender gave it early, but the Brexit and the consensus. It's up nicely from 106 to 186, but it's right at the 786 retrace of this. We could just as easily see a move back to 0.6477 in this stock. I say, up to you what you want to do with it. Personally, not for me. But there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in any event, if you're in this, I would expect a pullback next. If it does that and holds, and in times with the market and we get another set of buy signals, I might be interested, but I think there are better plays. Estee Lauder. Now, this was the one that Michael Berry, he sold pretty much everything and then took a very large position in this, coming off these lows, and we picked it up off that. And look, it had a picture perfect set of buy signals coming off those lows. And look where we've gone since, from 57.93 when we first looked at it, all the way up to 91.18. But I do think that's a 5-wave structure. Look for a 2 back. Now, if it holds 66.95 to 62 on the pullback we're expecting in the market, then that is worth a play with a tight stop for a wave 3 up. And if this plays out, 230.54, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here and saying, look, all I'm suggesting is an ABC, a move as a corrective move against that big drop that we've seen. It could play a lot more, but why worry about it? It's a huge move up potentially. I might be more interested in this on the next run up. For now, if you've been in it, you should have sold it the other day as we came off here. You can see the momentum was coming off. Trender had warned you here, and the CRSI gave you the absolute sell signal here. So stand aside in this one. If you haven't done so already, I suggest you consider doing just that. ARM, you can see where we are again. Nice buy signals coming out of the wave 2 low. Wave 2 low hit the 618 retrace fib to perfection. There's your CRSI buy, Mansfield, Trender, cycle bottom, consensus. And now we're right back up at resistance. This is one where I would expect to see a pullback next, maybe from a little higher. But again, if you're in this, you have had a run from around the $80 up to 157. Don't get greedy, let it prove it. And I would look for a pullback next in this to go long again. Excuse me. AA, this needs to break back above 32.12, and it's given a sell signal. If you've got anything in this, I would suggest you bank it. You can see the buy signals coming off the lows. It's not performed anything like as well as some of the other selections. CLSK, now this one's performed beautifully, but again, a little bit of concern here. We've come up to this 138.2 fib and we're failing. CRSI is turning over, momentum's coming off. We need to push up here to 15.44, then a 4.5. If you bought this coming off the lows all the way back down here, or on the breakout buy here, then I would strongly suggest that you want to bank into strength again. In that all of this is only a wave 1 up in any event, and therefore I think given what we're expecting in the market and the state of our indicators, consensus of 4 to the downside, then it's not worth the risk here. I would wait for the rest of the move up to prove itself, and then a 2 back if you want a position, but it's one to keep on the watch list. RDDT needs to break back above 165.32 and then clear 181.73. Same thing here. This can be an ABC for a 1 in a much larger diagonal. Watch this squeeze. We've got a squeeze building, CRSI curling back up. It's diverged. It's just below the line. Look for the buy signals on this for a move up to a minimum of 212 from here, and then a 4.5 up to a minimum of 272. So RDDT looking constructive here. OSCR, now this has been reasonably constructive over the last couple of days, and then it's going to pull back here again today. Careful with this. We've got an ABC where each leg was equal for a 1, and we've pulled back and we're flirting with this 618 retrace fib. You can see the CRSI turning. It's not given a buy, nor's the trender. We've still got a consensus to the downside. This can still drop one more level to 1307 to 1328. But from there, the next run up should take us to 28.61. If you're not in it, wait for the signals, and I would suggest a break of 15.58 before taking a position in OSCR. OXY, I mean, this is just going sideways. It's a slow mover. It's one of Buffett's plays. He bought it all the way back up here. We looked at it here, right into that 618. There's your buy signals coming off the lows. Just keep a tight rein on it. It's a slow mover. It needs to clear 53.14 next. And then I think over time, this is one that's got a long, long way to go to the upside, but it's not, a big momentum stock. It's not going to happen fast. LMD, I like this stock, and I'm looking for a slightly deeper B wave here. You can see the weekly sell signal, but the next move up 125, then a 4.5 up to 185 or more. So that in and of itself is a huge move, and that's the first 5-wave move potentially off the all-time low after the IPO. Be patient with it. We need to see it come down to 31 to the 29.89 area and hold, and then set up with buy signals again. You can see the sell signal coming off the top. You can see the original buy signal off the wave 2 low that produced that run, but it's still correcting in my opinion, and I want it lower before I would consider some. Okay, so that's what we've got on these. You know, that whole portfolio has done exceptionally well generally since we posted it. And I think, again, if you manage positions in that, those are still the positions that I think are favourite moving forward, and you know, some great setups after a pullback in the market, which I do think is just around the corner now.